You guys don't need to worry about me getting revenge from Diddy. I've got 3 moves that make sure he'll never be able to come after me or my family. First, I personally reached out to the victims' legal teams. The real reason he's not getting out is those buried cases behind the scenes. I provided legal funding for 7 victims who had been silent for years and brought in the top criminal attorneys in the country. Second, I bought up every potential post-release business deal he had lined up. I planned this 2 years in advance, so by the time he got sentenced and still had hope of getting out, every partner had already cut ties with him. Third, I don't just have evidence, I've got backups. This is an entire minefield that's been buried for 20 years. I uncovered every secret from the last 30 years. With testimonies from the victims, we interviewed over a dozen people he tricked, threatened, or violated. You think that's harsh? No, he destroyed other people's lives for decades. I'm just making sure he spends a few extra years in prison for it. I'm not afraid of his people, not afraid of his threats. I know he's still in there fantasizing about a comeback, but the truth is, he's never coming back.
What do I owe the president? What do I owe the president? Last time we speaking together, we wash your car for you. We wash your car. We wash your car with no shame in our hustle. When you goddamn getting it to that wash, and you know that chip gonna be good like this goddamn West Coast. Y'all better stop wearing this slippery soap, man. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I've been holding a lot of shit in lately. Man, I just had like a 3.5 hour cry.
The hip-hop world is on edge after 50 Cent unleashed a series of bombshell audio clips that immediately forced Rick Ross into damage control mode. This wasn't some casual exchange or online chatter, it was a deliberate strategic strike with real consequences attached. We dug into how these high-stakes recordings suddenly hit the internet, and once you hear what's on them, it becomes obvious why the heat on Ross intensified almost instantly. This move wasn't just aggressive, it marked a clear change in 50's approach. The balance of power has shifted, the risk level has climbed, and this rivalry has officially crossed into a whole new chapter.
New York, just like Mount Vernon, New York City, Mount Vernon, and Miami, all that is the same, bro. Nobody wants to be near him. Nobody wants to touch what he touched, be where he at. You understand? It's crazy, bro, how his fall from grace, which was never from grace, it's just like the devil just kicked him out of hell, because he was never in nothing graceful and did anything graceful. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you say about, okay, he did the music, he had the bad boy legacy and everything like that, man. But, you know, a few albums, a few people, you know, made to be famous, but they not here to tell their story. Black Rob, Biggie, Craig Mack. They not here to tell their story, bro. And now you got everybody telling his story.
Yeah, and I know 50, he did a recent interview with US Weekly saying that the reason why rappers are quiet about, you know, Diddy's situation is because they've been to his parties and they don't know what got caught on tape.
Bro, those people who was caught at Diddy party did not know that he had 250 tape recordings.
Listening closely, this wasn't sudden. 50 Cent had been moving in silence, and now the entire blueprint is out in the open. When Rick Ross tried to clown him years ago with the whole Officer Ricky angle, most people brushed it off as typical rap beef. But 50 wasn't reacting in real time, he was planning long term. While Ross put his wins on display, big deals, trophies, luxury 50 stayed locked in, studying the field and quietly building leverage. As Ross grew more relaxed, celebrating success and projecting control, that confidence became the weak spot. Those pointed Instagram comments about artificial success weren't accidental. They were warnings. Then, with no rollout and no hype, 50 dropped the audio. One precise move flipped the entire situation. Social media exploded, the industry went quiet, and Ross was forced to realize too late that the game had changed and the strategy he dismissed had already played out.
He had 250 tape recorders in that house that they took, that the feds found. So now with them finding all that and you being at a Diddy party, you know you may have done something that was caught on one of those tapes. You just better pray to God that they don't recognize you. Those people who know that they did something, no, they're not going to speak out. They're not going to say nothing. What part of the game is that? They are not going to come forward and tell on themselves. Nah, not at all. Ice Cube, he said it himself, bro. He said that Diddy's been targeted because of what he said about those folks and those people. Now, the people who was on those tapes may feel like Diddy might be targeting them. Because if he's asked about who is this, who is that, and he's under oath with the federal government, he got to tell them. He's not going to plead the fifth.
Yeah, I know that got to be a terrible feeling, man. You know you did something wrong at Diddy party, and you hoping and praying that it's not caught on tape.
But they don't think they did nothing wrong. That's their lifestyle. That's their lifestyle, bruh. I ask guys all the time, if two men lay down, how many homos get up? What you mean? I mean what I mean.
Moment. 50 dropped that audio, the industry went into immediate lockdown. Executives disappeared into emergency huddles. PR teams scrambled to contain the fallout. And anyone even remotely connected to Ross, they went eerily silent. This wasn't a random jab, it was precise, calculated, surgical. Oz was in the middle of business as usual when his phone started blowing up. At first, he dismissed it as noise, but the second he watched the clip, everything changed. The energy shifted instantly, tension spread, and the rumors only grew louder. His was just the opening move. Sources say 50 has been sitting on powerful leverage for years, waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. Now the industry can't. Stop asking the same question. If this was only the first strike, how massive is what he's still holding in reserve?
I'm 100% factual, but it's somebody in this story of things that seems more reliable than others, Race, is what I'll say it, just to protect my sources. But this source informed me of who these A-list celebrities are on these tapes that are being allegedly auctioned off online and through the networks. And it's put me in a little bit of a bind because I like to be fully transparent with the audience. I want to say things, but I also realize from what I'm told, because again, I haven't seen them directly yet. I haven't, and I don't know if I want to. Race, I want your advice on that too. But the problem I have is just like, typically I want to report these things, but I got to be careful legally, ethically, morally as to what we report on here. Because as Ariel, the lawyer here, did admit, and I can attest based on the information I got from a separate, reliable source, people in these videos don't know they're being videotaped. That's a big issue, Race, right? Let's start out right there. If there are people on these tapes that don't know that they were being filmed, is that okay to talk about and to share?
I have a big problem with that, as do you, Andy, and you tend to be an ethical guy and you're taking the high ground here. Notwithstanding the fact that you may have some significant information and reliable information, but the reality is that, look, I mean, if people were recorded non-consensually and you're the one to identify them, I think that's a problem, right? And I think anytime anyone has content, right, this is not an email, this is not a text message, this is video. And there's specific statutes without using specific language I don't want to get into, but everybody knows what we're talking about here.
It's Diddy with this person, I'll say that. It's Diddy with this person. Actually, yes.
Yeah, and see, the problem is, again, like, non-consensually recorded, you've got a victim here who may not want to be publicly identified. That's the problem. That's the problem. And they have a right to proceed if they want to, whether it's criminally or civilly, without being identified, because we know what's going to happen. As soon as they identify themselves, there's going to be a bunch of people that come out of the woodwork who are going to unequivocally harass them and claim that didn't happen, and they're making stuff up. And there's the victims that we want to protect here, and that's significant.
Well, it's interesting because here's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I know a lot of you are like, Andy, just say it. No, I'm not going to say them, but I wanted to have this conversation as to why we're not saying it and why I think others haven't yet said it, raised, because again, legally, ethically, morally, it's just not right. Now, there's an argument I've had with people who are like, well, they knew what they were doing with Diddy. Like these were consensual acts. Like they knew, and he filmed other times. So I don't know what the big deal is. It's going to come out. It's going to come out is what I keep hearing from other reliable sources. It may come out, but it's not going to come out via me. That's just to warn you all, because I don't think it's wise for us to put out something like you just confirmed it without the consent of the other person in the video. Because again, from what I'm gathering based on
For years, Ross insisted he kept his distance from certain powerful players, but the newly released recordings tell a very different story. In this latest drop, 50 shared audio that seemingly places Ross in sensitive business discussions with Diddy far beyond casual industry chatter. The content is revealing. Additional clips show Ross confidently talking about discreet deals with emerging artists, suggesting a clear, consistent pattern rather than mere coincidence. Insiders warn that if this material keeps circulating, it could seriously damage his credibility at the highest levels. What's truly shaking the music world is how these recordings reopen long-standing questions about Ross' early career, contradicting the story he's carefully maintained for years and thrusting his entire narrative into a fierce, unrelenting spotlight.
That they took 1,000 bottles away from his house. If the government took 1,000 bottles of baby oil and somebody had things what appeared to be baby oil, and then you have to listen to the prosecutor. He said that they seized 1,000 bottles what allegedly to be baby oil. Allegedly to be baby oil. So that's telling people that it wasn't baby oil. And people think that was baby oil, they out their mind. I don't believe it was baby oil. Yo, bro, when they went up in there, they knew what they was going to find. They knew what was ever in that baby oil or that those bottles that appeared to be baby oil, they knew about that at first. You got to realize 9 times out of 10, that individual that got caught at the airport, that was supposed to be their carrier, told them what they was doing and what they had. I wouldn't put it past that he told them everything. So when they went up in there, they knew they had to take whatever was out there, and that thing that appeared to be baby oil, they took that. They got to test every last one of them. Let's see how much, let's see how many of those come back to be baby oil. Bro, listen to me. Costco don't sell that much baby oil. Where you know sell that much baby oil?
Yeah, I don't know any store that sell that much baby oil. I know Costco, they came out and said that they don't even sell baby oil.
My sentiments exactly.
But you personally, right, what do you believe was in the baby oil?
If you ever seen a massage parlor being raided and they walking out the people, do they take the massage oil with them when they go? No, they just walk out the people who are being arrested. A person getting arrested and the people being arrested in those brothel houses. Do they take out the stuff in the brothel houses? No, they don't. They take the individuals who are being arrested out the brothel houses. For them to take 1,000 bottles of baby oil, it's like that they did not leave one They left people there, but they ain't leave not one bottle. Nobody needed no baby oil. So my whole thing about it is that there was something in that other than baby oil. That's why they took all the bottles. And 9 times out of 10, if I would give it a wild guess, it was, and like some of the people told me, it was probably that GHB.
What's that?
I think it's gamma hydrox. I looked it up, bro. Let me see. See if I can find it. I know this is just showing everything like that, but oh no. Let me. Yo, somebody tap dance or sing or do something. You know what I'm saying? While I'm doing this. Oh, here it go right here. It's gamma hydroxy butyric. What is it effect on the body? It's a euphoria, drowsiness, decreased anxiety, and memory impairment. It works on the nervous system and gives you this feeling of euphoria. So they take that and rubbed it on her, and you forget who you are, what you're doing. It can also give you memory loss, drowsiness, and that's under the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration.
The industry is tense, with insiders describing these recordings as an unfiltered glimpse into a reputation. Under extreme pressure, Ross and her circle scrambled into emergency planning, uneasy about the possibility that 50 still has more material waiting to surface. With Ross navigating high-stakes ventures and Diddy already under intense scrutiny, the timing couldn't be more precarious. These drops do more than make headlines. They threaten brands, alliances, and years of carefully built influence. Every attempt to downplay the situation only seems to invite the next revelation, ratcheting up the pressure even further. The moment Ross saw what 50 released, the story changed instantly, transforming a challenging situation into a full-blown crisis.
Together is what this is. And again, that's a potentially outing of somebody as well. You know what I mean? There's so many things here that happen in releasing of this private consensual moment that while salaciously everybody wants to know, and people are messaging me all the time, Andy, who's waiting? And it's like, I'm not gonna say, because there seem to be way too many things that these people in the tapes, whether consensual, whether they, whatever, didn't agree to put out there. And I would think that's a legal issue too for anybody who puts these out first, no?
Yeah, you nailed it. You can't without the consent of the victim. That's the problem. Somebody thinks that somebody has no idea, right? You said, well, didn't they know they're being recorded? No. I mean, in these situations, the assumption is they did not know. And that's what we believe right now, is the victims did not know that they were being recorded. If the victim comes out and says, okay, yes, I knew I was recorded, and a statement is provided, that's a different story. But of course, you don't know that. So you, Andy, probably can't be the one to break that ice and be like, well, this is what I heard and this is what I know, and so I'm going to say it. And there's all kinds of hairy legal issues on that, right? With privacy and intrusion on seclusion is what we call it. It's a privacy violation. There could be defamation implications. There could be criminal implications. So you're doing the right thing by treading carefully. And I think more people should do this rather than get into speculation. Now, if you see the videos, even still, right? If somebody takes this...
Not to interrupt, but that's the question. Like, am I allowed to see these videos? Like, if I were to ask this source, show me the videos, do I put myself in worse legal jeopardy?
That's another distinct legal issue, right? It's like you're watching something that someone didn't know they were being recorded of doing, right? And so it's dicey. It's dicey. Now, it would be different if you were an attorney and somebody's coming to you for purposes of defense or prosecution of a claim, a civil claim, or the filing, of some action to recover damages. That's a little different. But for purposes of, hey, look what I got, juicy gossip, and there are reporting outlets that I won't mention that will do stuff like this. I don't know that it's the smartest thing to do. I don't know that it's the careful thing to do. That's for sure. Or it's the ethical or moral thing to do.
Yeah, it is exactly not Lord, but maybe this source will show you, and then you can verify what we know. But here's the other problem: even if we verify what we know, like as I watched what Ariel, the lawyer, got these tapes, and even again, I don't want to get into the details, any remote details that could help explain or allude to even more of theories that are out there, or debunk or confirm. But I will say, hearing what I heard, which again isn't confirmation, but hearing what I heard, it makes me dislike what Ariel's doing even more, because I think there are going to be people out there, if this information does get out in some way, that are going to deny that these people are victims, that they're going to try to say, oh no, they're just consensually and they were hiding this affair and yada yada yada. And I don't see it that way personally. I mean, and granted, I haven't seen or know, like, this isn't somebody involved, from what I've gathered in these tapes, of them doing it to others in a way criminally, like we've heard in some of these suits. This is just, it almost feels like, again, if it's real, like blackmail material that Diddy keeps to sort of hold over these people's heads. And to me, that's awful to the people in it, whether they agreed or knew or whatever. It still just feels like that's no one's freaking business, and maybe they were doing it for reasons we don't know. Just because we saw it in the tape doesn't mean they weren't feeling pressured in other ways, right? So it's a heavy and complicated thing, and but it's not a hard decision to say.
Late night alerts started buzzing. The fallout hit everyone like a shockwave. Ross immediately rushed online with an impulsive Instagram response so reckless that his PR team went into full-on damage control. This wasn't a calculated reply. It was raw, emotional, and noticeably unstable. As the situation spiraled, he doubled down, dropping voice messages, scrambling to steer the narrative, and even resurrecting old talking points in an attempt to deflect attention. But each reaction only intensified the concerns surrounding him. Business partners and advisors worked to restore order with carefully crafted statements, only for Ross to undercut them moments later, amplifying confusion and alarm. Soon, those closest to him were giving the same urgent advice: log off, regroup, and stop the damage before years of painstaking work unraveled.
Like, let's let this play out in the legal realm. If you ever get Ariel on your show, I'd love to talk with her and have this conversation if she's willing to do it publicly, because I still don't understand what her role is in all this, and I've heard at times broker, I've heard at times advocate for victim, and I don't want to judge what she's doing or not doing. I'd love to just have a conversation about it, because I personally don't get it, right? This is a very sensitive thing. Again, if this gets turned over to the feds and the feds bring claims and this is outed, that's a totally different story. But the feds do what they're going to do, like what we talked about months ago on your show, right? When this first went down, we knew when hard drives were seized and things happened that, look, they're going to build a case. They're going to build a case that they think they can prosecute. It's not for us to speculate what's there or what's not, but to say, you have tangible evidence of something on camera that you've seen and that it's being sold in order to protect someone,
to avoid being publicly named, which is what even the lawyers are now admitting. It all feels really dirty and shady, man.
The only person that makes sense that could buy this is the victim, right? If the victim says, I don't want this to come out. Yes, it was consensual, but I don't want it to come out. I didn't know I was being recorded. Give it to that person.
Right, I guess, but you're right, because then they can actually own it. Maybe there is a version of this, and that's what Ariel's trying to allude to. You'll own it, and no other network's going to be able to buy it or show it if you own it and haven't given permission. I guess, is that maybe part of what they're trying to do here, in that the celebrity who buys it can actually then control it just from a clearance standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, look, it still raises some legal concerns, right? Because let me say it this way: if this was a transaction, if this is a business transaction wherein the victim is then acquiring the exclusive rights to this tape or tapes, and that the person who recorded it is avowing that they will not use it, I don't know where that leaves P. Diddy and the feds, right? But they have an independent right to bring this stuff to light if it gets prosecuted. But my point is, if you're transferring legal rights of this consensual or non-consensually recorded tape to the victim, I think that's a better position to be in. But then the question is this person even in a position to be able to buy the tape, right? Are they a high-level celebrity Like, who are they? We can assume that they're celebrities with millions and millions of dollars to expend on something like this. Just racist.
Panic spread quickly as Ross team scrambled to contain the fallout, attempting takedowns, but 50 had already saturated the internet with the material. Desperate to find the source, Ross reportedly poured significant resources into tracking the leak, compounding the chaos. Restrictions on his main Instagram account forced him onto backup profiles where his reactions only grew more intense. Legal teams rushed to intervene, and business partners quietly pulled back. Yet, instead of slowing the momentum, Ross escalated the situation, pulling other artists into the drama and exposing uncomfortable behind-the-scenes tensions. It began to feel like his grip on momentum was unraveling in real time. The industry quickly fractured. Some sided with 50, while others tried to stand by Ross. But with his erratic responses dominating the narrative, defending him became an uphill battle with no clear victory in sight.
My business card was savoir-faire, security management, and everywhere. You know what I mean? So 50 did a song about that. You know what I'm saying? And he put that in the song. And some years ago, about a year or so ago, not even a year or so ago, he said that when he dropped my name, he said, yo, I got the savoir-faire. I got that from Big Gene. He been trying to tell y'all about this Puff shit years ago. But 50 was the type of dude that if you knew he was with you, he was with you. Even back then, he had your back whether you was security or whatever you did. If he was with you, he was with you. And that's what you gotta love about him. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta question his loyalty, you know what I'm saying, on some fight shit or if you in a situation. Cause he going out.
Well, I guess you were hanging around him or knew him, right before he got shot.
Well, what happened is that I had got some information. 50 came to my house. I tried to fit him on a vest, but I'm like, at the time I was like a 3X. And 50 was like a large, you know what I'm saying? So he couldn't really fit the vest, but I gave him a cover to try to tell him, because he had some pads, some vest pads. So I just told him what the situation was that I knew. And told him he had to watch himself because those cats was gonna come at him. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah. And he was supposed to be going to Cancun. And I told him, if you come to Cancun, I got you, because I used to be down there doing security at Daddy-O's. You understand? And I had people down there that I knew that was from Puerto Rico, and they was working down there, so they should make sure when I hit the island, anything and everything I needed, I could get it right there on the island. You understand? They work directly with the syndicate. So 50 was supposed to come down there to do a show, and he didn't make it because they had shot him up. I don't know if he was coming in the first place, but he was supposed to, because he was paid half the money to come down there to perform How to Rob an Industry Cat.
And when was the next time you seen him after that?
The next time I seen 50 after that was at Jack the Rapper. He had blew up. Man. He was like, he was this dude and everything like that. And I was sitting we was in Puerto Rico, and I was sitting by myself, just chilling. And he had his whole entourage with him. He came directly over to me. He like, yo, Gene. I was like, yo, what up, Fit? I said, what up, 50? He said, what's up, man? He said, yo, put his hand out to me, and grabbed my, he said, yo, they can't stop what God got planned. Went on about his business. And then he blew up crazy.
Crazy, man. Yeah. How do you feel about 50 going so hard at Diddy with the documentaries? And what did he do to 50 that made him hate him so much, man? That's crazy.
Well, I think it's just, you got to look at it like this. 50 was writing a lot of shit that made a lot of money for Diddy. And he knew back then in the day, he didn't know what he know now, but Diddy was robbing him. You understand? You know, bringing those kids in, say, yo, like, yo, here, write this verse for me, man, for this, stuff like that, and giving them $5,000. You understand? Or $10,000, and you making 100,000 or 200,000 or maybe 2 million off of it, or $1 million, whatever the case may be. See, people call that good business. That's not good business. That's taking a person's talent, using it for your own self-indulgence, and not giving him what it's worth. When you could have been teaching these kids, you could have been helping these kids, and maybe these kids would have been helping you at the point you are right now. So, if that's the case, he have every right. But 50 is doing this for the culture. You understand? If it's going to be told.
Chaos spread, industry loyalties became impossible to ignore. Meek Mill openly engaged with 50's posts, while major players quietly distanced themselves from Ross, and previously scheduled collaborations began disappearing without explanation. DJ Khaled went silent. French Montana shared a subtle message about consequences and the future, a move that felt like a deliberate signal. Even Drake dropped a vague comment on loyalty, sending speculation into overdrive. The message was crystal clear, momentum was shifting, support was evaporating, and the balance of power in the industry was undergoing a dramatic realignment.